Guys, it's Greg here from Bottom Line, and I'm joined by my friend Karen Coe from Empire Provisions and Little Empire Burger. And today we're talking about Karen's little empire that she's building down here in Calgary in the food and beverage business. Now, Karen, tell us about what is Empire Provisions.
Empire Provisions started first and foremost as a meat company. So we started in 2016. We were making handmade sausages, a little bit of charcuterie, and then offering butchery specialties. We were doing it all online through a newsletter. We were working out of a shared kitchen space on 17th Avenue. We actually worked underneath Una. And we initially started the business by creating a charcuterie program for their wine bar, Frenchie. Since then, Empire Provisions has expanded quite a bit. We're now a full service restaurant, catering service, wholesale provider, and then also have the full retail space with cheese and charcuterie and all of our in-house made products.
And you've just opened up a burger shop too.
We did, yeah. We thought we wanted to add on another layer. When we started this whole entire vision for Empire Provisions, we knew we wanted to have a multiple location concept. We didn't know what that was going to be, and it naturally just kind of created itself. So Little Empire is our sister restaurant. It is burger focused. It's burgers, our house-made hot dogs, chicken burgers, fries, really simple, but done at the level that we think is part of the Empire standard.
Awesome. So how did you get into the restaurant business? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur and in the food business?
I didn't, but I definitely think I was primed for it. My parents were both entrepreneurs, and I grew up at a very young age working behind a counter, working with them in their retail stores, and went through what the expectation was, which was go to university, get a degree. But I really just found that I had fallen into the service industry and I had a knack for it. What became, a job that I was just using while I tried to get on to the next stage of my career became a full-time profession. So I started in the wine industry, and I worked as a sommelier for probably about 15 years or so, and I wanted a new challenge, so I moved into operations. And from there, I learned restaurant management. And from there, I also decided I wanted to learn a little bit more about the culinary world. So I went to culinary school as well, sort of at a later stage in life to develop my knife skills. And then at that time, when Dave and I were sort of dating in the beginnings of our relationship, we talked about what it would be like if we started a business together. And that's kind of where the brainchild of Empire Provisions was born.
So what was the impetus for you and your partner Dave to be like, yes, we're going to do it? Was there like a moment where you're just like, we're doing this?
I think to speak for Dave, just because he's not here, for him, he had always grown up in a family in which he was surrounded by really good food. His mom is an exceptional cook. The culture and the history of his family making sausage together and being able to share that with other people was a big driver for him. Dave worked in a corporate job, and I think he just got to a point where he realized that what he thought he was doing wasn't necessarily where he saw himself in the future, and he just decided that he was going to take a big leap and go for something that was a bit more passion driven to see if it would just garner a little bit more success. I think for myself, I had gotten to a point where I wanted to be challenged in a different way. I had gained a lot of experience working under really great people, and I wanted to see if my ideas could be applied to my own business and see if we could create something. And I thought that was the next level for me in terms of, my level of expertise as a manager, as an operations manager, had come to a point where I wanted to see what the next step could be. And this was the natural segue for me, was to take a big leap into entrepreneurship.
So why a deli?
My background was in fine dining for a very long time, but I just felt a lot more drawn. The more I learned about food, the more I experienced food at every single level, the more I just kept getting drawn back into quality food, casual food that could be accessible to everyone. Dave felt the same way, that some of our best memories were always rooted in the meals that we had as children, the meals that we get to share with our friends, and they often are a lot more humbly expressed, we also felt that there was a huge lacking in Calgary in particular, places that wanted to be sort of the middle ground to connect us to the smaller farmers that are working hard in Alberta. We wanted to draw a line to that connection, and it really just spoke to how we envisioned our business, having some real roots to it. We weren't looking for things that were on trend. We were looking for what people want to eat on a daily basis. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve here. So the deli was a wonderful sort of happenstance. We didn't know if we were going to have just a retail store or if we were going to have a sandwich shop. We were actively looking for a place for a while, and this came up, and this particular spot has really great roots and a really great history of being a locally owned, family-run deli for, I don't know, I would want to say now almost 20 years. And we really just felt like this was the place for us to call our home.
Awesome. So this might be a loaded question, and you might get asked this quite a bit, but like, what's the secret to success going to work with your partner every day?
Well, I don't know if we have the answer to that yet. Dave and I have been a couple for 10 years, but we've also been friends for about 16. And I think with that, communication is the biggest key. And I don't think that we necessarily got that right away because we just cared so much about each other. We just thought that we could just bring all of that emotion back and forth between the two places. And you learn very quickly that it doesn't work. Right. So there's definitely a good separation of roles and responsibilities that we try and carry on now as the business progresses and begins to grow. And I think that has been the big driving force for our success with the second place, was that we just had very defined roles, and we weren't just trying to overstep. We knew our responsibilities, and we also built up on each other's strengths.
So what's like the biggest lesson that you've learned in opening two businesses? You've seen a lot of growth within let's say the past 2 to 3 years. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned?
I think you need to be flexible with your vision, because what you envision and what your customers want are going to be two different things 99% of the time, and you have to be really willing to make the changes that are necessary for the benefit of your business quickly, and you have to be definitive with your actions.
So what's on the horizon? I mean, you guys it seems like you've been aggressive, and maybe that was the plan or maybe it wasn't, but you have, Little Empire Burger now open up inside of Annex. What's the next move? Or is there one?
Well, there always is. What we're doing within these four walls is pretty special, and so Empire as our home base is always going to be where we want to try and continue that growth. So we'd love to see a greater expansion of our catering market, really dive in deep with our wholesale accounts, but also continue to have the charm that we have with this neighborhood, which is a very family-driven neighborhood and really, really friendly. And so we really want to just keep servicing the neighborhood as they've serviced us since we've opened. With Little Empire, I mean, the charming thing about it is that we want to have more than one. Is there a dog in here? Sorry. We want to have more than one. I mean, the idea with the concept is that it's something that we can replicate in multiple locations, and so we'll see if that's going to be in Calgary, if that's going to be in another city. We didn't call it Empire to have just one, so
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So last question, what piece of advice would you give to anybody who's thinking about I want to go out and try doing something like this, starting my own business, being an entrepreneur? What's one piece of advice you give them?
Well, I'll have a business plan first and foremost. That sounds like an obvious, but a lot of people, have what they give to the bank, but don't have what they wanted to see as their philosophy, as the culture for their company.
Right. Mission, purpose, all of that.
Yeah, and where they expect to see the business develop, sort of down the road. A lot of it is just sort of like, we have an idea and let's just see if it works. And there always has to be a next step. And I think that's the part that has really driven myself and Dave, is that we always have and then what to our business plan.